So first topic is transaction atomicity, right? So if a transaction Ti fails for whatever reasons, we need to undo the effect of this transaction to ensure the atomicity property of the transaction, right? So if a transaction fails, you need to roll back the transaction to ensure the atomicity property of the transaction, right? So however, in a system that allows concurrent execution, the atomicity property requires that any transaction Tj that is dependent on Ti should also be aborted, right? So it happens in concurrent execution of the transactions. When two transactions are running concurrently, one transaction is dependent on other transaction, right? So transaction Ti is running and Ti is running and it results in some failure. Transaction Ti fails for some reasons. You need to roll back the transaction Ti, and there is some other transaction Tj who is dependent on Ti, right? Then Tj should also be aborted. So we'll see an example. So for example, look into this schedule 9. So you have two transactions, T6 and T7 running concurrently, right? So T6 it is writing a value of data item capital A that is being read by transaction T7. So what happens if transaction T6 is failure? So you need to abort the transaction T6 if there is a failure. And since T7 is reading the value of data item capital A that is being read by transaction T6, T7 should also be aborted, right? So this is the property of transaction atomicity, right? So you have a transaction Ti, which is going to execute a sequence of instructions. In this case, it is going to perform a write operation on a data item capital A, and over a period of time you are expected to abort transaction T6 due to failure. There is another concurrent transaction T7 which is running concurrently. It is going to read the value of data item capital A that is being read by transaction T6. Since T6 is aborted, T7 should also be aborted since it is dependent on transaction T6. So this is the property of transaction atomicity. However, what happens is that in this case, T6 fails over a period of time, but T7 commits before T6 fails, right? So T6 has write a value of data item that is being read by transaction T7. So once it reads the value of data item, it commits. Transaction T7 commits, whereas transaction T6 continues with the execution of the instructions in the schedule in transaction T6, and over a period of time it fails, right? So however, it will not be able to abort transaction T7 since it's already committed. So this is known as non-recoverable schedule, right? So let me show you more examples.